good morning, my brothers and sisters. Good morning, and welcome to another Good Morning Grief devotional. It's your boy, Pastor Corey Allen Duncan Sr. So happy to have this time and this opportunity to be here with each and every one of you on today, on this Saturday, May 13th. This is the day that the Lord has made. He has commanded us to rejoice and to be glad in it. And I'm so happy to have this time with you on today. Look, you should be rejoicing because we made the wake up list. God has blessed us to see another day. Hope you rested well. You got up with your health and strength, activities of your limbs, blood running warm through your veins. Come on. We are excited about this time and this opportunity that God has given us together. So I want to welcome you into this place. Thank you for joining us. I want to remind you that today, if you are in the Indianapolis, Indiana area, we will be holding space for you today. For those of you who are mourning this Mother's Day season, whether you've lost a child, a grandchild, a godchild, son, daughter, granddaughter, grandson, mother, if you lost a mother, a grandmother, mother figure, whatever the case may be, we want to let you know that we are holding space for you today. What does that mean? That means you can come to the house of God. You can light a candle. You can sit. You can pray. You can sit in silence. You can go to the altar. You can do whatever you desire to do. We're just holding space for you on this Mother's Day season. And so we welcome you. We invite you. We thank you for coming. Thank you for having the desire to mourn with meaning. That's what this is all about. We are mourning meaningfully. And so we want you to take full advantage of the opportunity that is before us as we hold space for each and every one of you. So welcome into this place. Thank you for joining us on today. Without further ado, let's get into our grief devotional for today. Today's grief quote says, "The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. The opposite of art is not ugliness, it's indifference. The opposite of faith is not hearsay, it's indifference. And the opposite of life is not death. What is it? It's indifference." Real quick, we are going to talk today. Today is day 133. 133. We're going to talk about grieve and mourn so you can live and love. Grieve and mourn so you can live and love. Grieve and mourn so you can live and love. Let's talk about it, y'all. I often say that people who refuse to acknowledge and embrace their grief are not really and truly avoiding the hurt. Instead, they are choosing to die while they are alive. Yeah, I really need you to hear this quote right here. I really need you to hear this because this is so powerful. I often say that people who refuse to acknowledge and embrace their grief, people who refuse to acknowledge and embrace their grief, refuse to acknowledge what you're feeling, how you're feeling, you refuse to embrace what has taken place. You refuse to embrace your grief. You refuse to. These are the people who suppress. These are the people, they don't address it, they suppress it. These are the people, they don't express it, they suppress it. For the people who refuse to acknowledge and embrace their grief, you stay busy, you numb the pain, you do everything you can to avoid dealing with the loss, the change, the transition. I don't think I went through that today. Agree. I don't think I did that. You refuse to acknowledge the loss, the change, and the transition. You suppress it. You ignore it. You stay busy. You don't want to talk about it. You don't want to deal with it. It's the elephant in the room that you act like is not there. For those of you who refuse to acknowledge and embrace your grief, watch this. You're not really truly avoiding the pain. This is what you're doing, the hurt. This is what you're doing. You're choosing to die while you're still alive. You are choosing to die while you are still alive. Please hear me, brothers and sisters. If you refuse to acknowledge and embrace your grief, you're not avoiding the hurt. You are choosing to die while you're still alive. You are choosing to die while you're still alive. This is mind blowing. In dying, in denying their essential thoughts and feelings, they are throwing a blanket over their divine sparks. In denying your essential thoughts and feelings, guess what? You're throwing a blanket over your divine sparks, right? because that's the step to healing. That's the step to better. That's the step that is going to enable you to live. But when you deny your thoughts and feelings, you're throwing a blanket over their divine sparks. That you are building a wall between yourself and everything that is most meaningful in life. Whew. You are building a wall between yourself and everything that is most meaningful in life. Check this out, y'all. The opposite of grief is not joy, it's indifference. What is indifference, y'all? Indifference is a state to where, you're unsympathetic, you're uncaring, lack of interest, lack of concern. Um, that's the opposite. The opposite of grief is not joy, it's indifference. It's the false half life of trying to protect yourself from pain. It's the false half life of trying to protect yourself from something you're not really living, right? It's the false half life of trying to protect yourself from pain. Check this out, y'all. Ooh. The only way to block out pain is to block out all strong emotions and emotional experiences, good and bad. The only way to block out pain, you're blocking out all strong emotions and all emotional experiences. But this is the thing, you try to do that and block out the bad ones, you're also going to block out the good ones, right? So to avoid it, you try to block out this pain. You're blocking out all emotional experiences. So you're really not living. You're not living to the fullest. That's why grief and mourning is so important. That's why going through the process is so important. That's why making sure you are mourning meaningfully and going through the process is absolutely imperative, because otherwise you are not living but you're dying. Otherwise, you are robbing yourself of the opportunity to have life and to have it more abundantly. It's you're building this defense mechanism and these walls trying to block out this pain, but really it's having an adverse effect on you. It's not instrumental, it's detrimental, right? I told you you got the two types of pain. You got the pain of change and you got the pain of remaining the same, right? Some of you don't want to go through the pain of change, mourning, so that you can navigate through your grief journey. That's why you suppress it. You don't want to talk about it. You don't want to deal with it. You stay busy so you don't have to. You don't want to go through the pain of change. So now you got to deal with the pain of remaining the same. You got to deal with the pain of being locked up in a prison of grief and mourning. You got to deal with the pain of unprocessed grief, the pain of unprocessed, unpacked mourning. So now you're dealing with this pain, right? And either one, you got to pick your pain. Which pain do you want? I told you one leads to healing. The other one leaves you stopped, stalled, stagnant. The other one halts you and hinders you and holds you up. Both of them are going to be painful, but one is instrumental, one is detrimental. One leads you to living life abundantly. The other one leads you to living life in prison, really half-hearted, really not even living, right? So this is what you got to know, and this is what you got to understand. The opposite of grief is not joy, it's indifference. It's the false half-life of trying to protect ourselves from pain. The only way to block out pain is to block out all strong emotions and emotional experiences, good and bad. We grieve and mourn so that we can love and live. Again, we grieve and mourn so that we can love and live. Again, listen, we grieve and mourn so that we can love and live again. I know some of you think that loving and living is impossible. Some of you are saying, I'll never be happy again. I'll never have joy again. I'll never smile again. I'll never fall in love again. I'll never be happy. I'll never smile. When you left, I lost a part of me. A part of me died. And you think that is over, right? And even though that may be a temporary feeling, it doesn't have to be permanent. I told you before, there is life after death. And when I say that, I'm not just talking about the people that's transitioned. I'm talking about for you. There is life after death. There are still more chapters to be written in the book of your life. There are still more miles to be traveled in the journey of your life. But the question is, what would the rest of your story be like? Because you have an opportunity, right? You have an opportunity to not allow one chapter, the loss, the change, and the transition you've gone through, not to allow one chapter to dictate the rest of the book, right? Or you could say it like this: you can let that one chapter dictate the rest of the book, but is it going to dictate the rest of the book in a good way, or is it going to dictate the rest of the book in a negative way? Are you going to allow the one chapter of the individual, that transition, are you going to allow that to put you in a place and space to where you refuse to live and you refuse to love, right? And you say locked up in a prison because you don't want to mourn and you don't want to grieve? Or are you going to grieve and mourn, right? And then live in love and continue to live out allow God to author the most beautiful book that he could ever author, right? You have a choice. We grieve and mourn so that we can live in love. We grieve and mourn so that we can live and love. We grieve and mourn so that and of course, you blind. Of course, everything is cloudy. Of course, you can't see it right now. Of course, it looks impossible. Of course. You saying there's no way. No, there's Yahweh. Come on. I know you're saying there's no way. I'm telling you, there's Yahweh. And with him, with God, all things are possible. That you can live again, you can love again, you can laugh again, you can be happy again, you can find joy again. This is just a chapter, it's just a moment that if you grieve and mourn, right? If you go through the process, if you grieve and mourn, you can live and you can love. I don't know right now why I'm thinking about like knee replacement or hip replacement. Perhaps some of you have gone through that, some of you, or just any surgery at all. That here you have something that's debilitating, something that may have been bone on bone, right? That here you have something that has changed and it's painful. Oh, it's painful. Well, whatever surgery is painful. You're dealing with this and you need to have this done. It's painful. I seen somebody the other day. They were talking about LASIK. They're on their LASIK journey, right? They had LASIK surgery. Vision was all jacked up and messed up. They had to wear glasses. Now they're back at 2020, right? Painful. But they went through the process. Now they can see clearly again. Now they don't need the glasses. I know people who had knees replaced. I know people who've had hips replaced. It was painful. It was bone on bone, right? It was so painful. They had the operation. You know what they said? Oh my God, I wish I would have did this sooner. They went through the process, right? And it was pain. You go through the process, you go through rehab. You got, you got to learn all of that stuff. But afterwards, oh my God, the joy that they had, the joy that they received, the happiness that they experienced, they wasn't crying tears no more. For a lot of people, it hurts to walk. Hurts to walk. It hurts to climb up. It hurts to get out of bed because it's bone on bone and the pain is so excruciating that when you go through that process, come on. I done seen people do that now. They walking, they running, they jogging, they doing all of this stuff. They say, I wish I would have did this sooner. Ask them before the surgery. They wouldn't imagine a life of walking and running and working out. They wouldn't have imagined a life of getting up without any pain. They wouldn't have imagined not having to go through, they couldn't imagine life without this pain because it was so unbearable. But when you go through the process, oh, you have joy, unspeakable joy, right? And I'm telling you, when you grieve and mourn so you can live in love. You grieve and mourn so that you can live. And I know you can't imagine it. I know you don't see it, but you grieve and mourn so you can live and love. You grieve and you mourn so you can live and love again. Here it is. The opposite of grief is not joyous indifference. Muting my grief mutes my soul. Muting my grief mutes my soul. And what you don't want to do, you don't want to mute your grief. Because when you mute your grief, you mute your soul. and it affects every area of your life. I want to encourage you today. Don't mute your grief. Don't push that mute button. All right? You can't hear nothing. Push that mute button, you can't hear nothing. Nothing is coming out, right? Don't mute your grief. When you mute your grief, you mute your soul. You don't want to stunt your growth. You don't want to stunt your development. You don't want to stunt your healing. You want to be in a place, you want to be in a position where you can grieve and mourn so that you can live and love again. Amen. Come on, questions, comments, questions, comments. I'll take them if you got them real quick. Questions, comments. Don't forget, we're holding space for you today if you're in the Indianapolis area. If you're asking, are we going to do it virtually? We actually did that Monday. We did it virtually Monday for all of our people. 2 hip replacement, Felicia Anderson. So I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. You done went through that pain, and what you're experiencing now is so much better than the pain that you had to go through, right? Paint the picture, Pastor. Hey, Marla Talley. I'm doing the best I can. To God be the glory. Thank you for joining us. Kathy Howard, good morning. What a word. Had to share. To God be the glory. Questions, comments. Questions, comments. I'm praying for you as you navigate through this Mother's Day season, whether you are a mother, whether you are a mother who's lost a child, whether you are a child that's lost a mother, or if you've lost a grandchild or a grandmother or whatever the case may be. Dang, it went mute on me. Went mute on me. But yeah, we're praying for you, holding space for you. Thank God for y'all. There we go. There we go. Lost it for a minute, but we back. We back, baby. We back. We back. We back. We back. Questions, comments, questions, comments, questions, comments. None? None coming through? Hope y'all have the most amazing day ever. Hope you have a sensational Saturday on this Mother's Day Eve. I hope it is wonderful and phenomenal and all of those wonderful things. Y'all don't have any questions or comments coming through. So, man, I love y'all with the love of the Lord. Praying for y'all. Hope to see you at 12 noon, or I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Have a blessed day.
Uh, uh. Good morning.